On January 24th, 2019, in the quiet, suburban neighborhood of Chula, Florida, the lives of the Amato family would be irrevocably shattered. Grant Amato, a 29-year-old nurse who once had everything, a career, a family, a future, was about to destroy it all in the name of obsession. His unrelenting desire for an online cam girl would lead him down a path that ended in brutal murder. Grant's story begins not with violence, but with obsession. In 2016, Grant came across Sylvia, an online cam girl based in Bulgaria. A woman he would never meet in person, yet, in his mind, a woman he believed he was destined to be with. For Grant, Sylvia became his everything, his fantasy, his love, and, eventually, his downfall. For most people, an online fantasy would remain just that, a fleeting, harmless indulgence. But for Grant, it became an obsession that consumed him. He told his family that he was in love with her, even though they had never met, and she barely knew he existed. His family, concerned, tried to intervene, but nothing could pull Grant out of the web he had created for himself. As his obsession deepened, Grant's behavior grew more erratic. He began draining his family's finances, first his father's retirement fund, then his brother's savings, sending every penny he could to Sylvia, believing that if he poured enough into her, she would one day notice him. It wasn't just money that Grant gave up. He gave up his career, his relationship with his family, and his sanity. His family tried everything they could to stop him. They sent him to therapy, they confronted him about his reckless spending, and they even allowed him to move back home, but only on one condition. He had to cut ties with Sylvia. For most people, that would have been a simple decision. But not for Grant. He couldn't let go. His obsession had consumed him entirely. On January 24th, 2019, the tension in the Amato household reached its breaking point. Grant, unable to sever his ties to Sylvia, found himself at odds with the people who had always loved him. His mother, Margaret, and his father, Chad, pleaded with him to seek help, to stop the madness, to stop the obsession that had taken over his life. But their pleas fell on deaf ears. That morning, a neighbor called 911 after hearing a strange noise coming from the Amato home. The police arrived to find a scene of unimaginable horror. Grant's parents, Margaret and Chad, had been shot dead in cold blood. His older brother, Cody, was found executed at the front door. 3 bodies, 3 innocent lives taken by someone they had loved. Grant's first story to the police was that his brother Cody had committed the murders, but his story quickly unraveled. Investigators discovered surveillance footage showing Grant entering the home after the killings. Forensic evidence pointed to Grant as the killer. And the most chilling clue came hours later, when, after committing the murders, Grant messaged Sylvia, telling her that he was now free to be with her forever. The cold detachment in Grant's words was chilling. His family, who had done everything to save him, were nothing more than obstacles in the way of his twisted fantasy. Grant had killed them not out of rage, but out of the belief that he could somehow be with Sylvia. When the police arrested Grant, he was calm, almost smug. He showed no remorse, no emotion. When questioned about the murders, he simply stated, "I wanted to be with her." His obsession had consumed him to the point where taking the lives of his own flesh and blood seemed like a reasonable step in his deluded journey to be with Sylvia. The trial that followed was a chilling spectacle. The evidence against Grant was overwhelming: DNA, gunshot residue, encrypted messages, and his own confession. The prosecution painted a picture of a man who had gone beyond the brink, driven by an all-consuming obsession that led him to murder his family. But throughout the trial, Grant remained eerily detached. He didn't cry, didn't apologize, he simply didn't care. When the verdict came in, Grant was found guilty of all 3 murders. The judge's words were harsh. Grant was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. A young man, once with a promising future, now condemned to spend the rest of his life behind bars. His obsession had cost him everything: his family, his career, his freedom, all gone. Grant's story is a haunting reminder of the power of obsession, of how easily a person can lose themselves in a fantasy. He didn't just kill his family, he destroyed himself in the process. His obsession with Sylvia, a woman he would never meet, led him to commit the most unimaginable act. And in the end, the only thing Grant had left was a prison cell. Today, Grant Amato remains incarcerated at a high-security facility in Florida, locked away from the world he once knew. He rarely speaks to anyone, spending his days in isolation, a man consumed by his own delusions. Sylvia, the woman who was the object of his obsession, never responded to his messages again. Grant's tragic tale raises disturbing questions. How does obsession like this begin? How can someone's mind become so consumed by a fantasy that they are willing to sacrifice everything for it? And how many lives can be destroyed by the unchecked power of obsession? Obsession is not just an emotional attachment. It can become a dangerous force. And for Grant Amato, it became a force powerful enough to destroy the lives of 3 innocent people, including his own. Was this pure obsession, or something darker brewing long before Sylvia? Like and subscribe for more haunting true crime stories that expose obsession, betrayal, and cold-blooded murder.